Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Amazy, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode. Brothers, anyone can talk the talk, but not everyone can walk the walk. And that's why here at Porn Reboot, where we do walk the walk, I'll be sharing every few episodes some snippets of success stories and testimonials from brothers who are in our implementation intensive and in our free groups. And they're going to be sharing some of the results they've been getting so that this can further inspire you to take action on all the different tips and techniques that you learn while listening to the Porn Reboot podcast. Enjoy.
What's going on, Reboot team? Chris here with yet another testimonial from somebody coming to us from our exclusive Reboot implementation program. I am here with Jim today. What is going on, sir?
Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you for making the time. Like I said before we started recording, we're going to get to know your journey up until this point and some of the takeaways you've had so far on your time in the implementation program. But really, before we start there, I kind of want to start from the very, very beginning. What ultimately led you to join the program in the very beginning?
In the very beginning, that was about 2021, maybe, like a lot earlier version of the program. What led me there is I was doing self-improvement stuff. I was reading Jordan Peterson, David Goggins. I was listening to Jocko Willink and starting to hit the gym, going off to college, getting away from my parents for the first time. And then kind of realizing, okay, here are all the problems I'm starting to notice I have in my life, and just wanted to start improving on the problems and solving them and making myself a better person.
I love that, man. And how did you discover the program?
It was the YouTube channel, but I don't even remember how I came across the YouTube channel anymore. I know for a fact that was the first resource I came across, but I don't know how. And the weirdest thing was all the NoFap stuff and those communities. I never became a part of any of them. I'd heard of them, but it was really weird. I don't know how. It was I think luck and just the algorithm of finding JK through his YouTube channel.
I've been there, man. Yeah, it's been so long, I forgot how I initially, stumbled onto
Right.
the YouTube channel or whatever I came across. But yeah, from that search, from that place of, I need help, eventually I found my way to the program too. And I'm curious, what was the moment, when you finally said, you know what, let's do this for real? You come across the YouTube channel in whatever way you did. What was the moment that pushed you over the edge, if you will?
I would say that the moment for me was just realizing how much time I spent acting out, and I spent just repeating the same cycle over and over and over again with no end in sight, and just how chaotic it made me feel and how out of control, just mentally, from a mental perspective, how out of control I felt. And the possibility that this could be addressed, that was what did it. And also seeing some of the testimonials at the time that, sometimes this behavior just isn't addressed and it goes on forever. So that was kind of a terrifying feeling.
I think that's really, really relatable. But here you are, having taken that step. I'm curious as to, what are some of the things that you've learned so far, whether they be about yourself or certain tools. Why don't we start there? What have been some of the tools that you picked up along the way in your journey so far?
Well, I've picked up a lot of the tools, but the ones that I lean on the most are the checklist, and then the rational exercise or dialoguing, and then the feelings exercise. Those are my three big go-tos. Or just the knee-jerk one is the band you guys encourage, or from one of the books you guys recommend, the beard technique, where you just, if you have beard or facial hair, you just do this, which I think this is a lot more subtle than snapping a rubber band. This has a bit more of a psychological effect. It's discreet in public, but also it reminds you, hey, you're not that kid anymore. Kids don't have facial hair.
Yeah, so you no longer need to operate in the same way you did as a boy. You don't need to solve your problems or perhaps run away from them in the same way you once did, as a youngster. And it's,
Mhm.
again, it's such a subtle thing. And when you make that part of your new muscle memory, it can make a big, big difference. So I love that. I'm curious as to, as far as other resources that you may have utilized in the program, like the coaching calls, for example, like what has been your experience with those?
I find that the coaching calls are very beneficial. When I first started, there weren't any, but now that there are a bunch, there's so much more now. It's like every day of the week now, I think, except maybe Monday. But it's the like from Rankin to Milan. It's like very beneficial. Or Restus's. I haven't been on his Wednesday calls, but I've heard a lot. Like my AP went to that, and he really enjoyed it. It's just very beneficial to have another professional like address like one of you, if it's like something you ask them, or one of the other brothers asks a question that you're kind of looking for an answer to but you didn't know how to put into words. And that's usually Milan. I usually tend Milan and Rankin, and both of them do a tremendous job at answering either psychological or neurological questions, behavioral questions, and kind of reframe it in a healthier frame, in an effective way to deal with it.
I love that, man. And shout out to Milan, shout out to Dr. Rankin and all of our coaches for doing what they do. And you also mentioned you're having an accountability partner. What benefits have, having an accountability partner within the program, had in your own reboot?
Well, I would say so. For this past week, as an example, I've just been, I've been back like slipping and in a relapse cycle. But every single day, that was how my accountability partners were at the beginning a couple months ago. And then I kind of was a bit more structured and rigid then, and I kind of like hey, no, you have to check in. Why aren't you checking in? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Kind of just like, I know what's happening here. Come on, we know what's happening. Come on, talk to me. Kind of break that cycle, as it were. And so now they've done the reverse. They've been messaging me and kind of just create a sense of urgency of, well, look, I can't do this. It's more like, I can't do this for you, but you need to pick yourself up, get your crap together, pull up your pants, your big boy pants, and get back to it. We all fall down, but the important thing is to learn the lesson of why we fell down and move forward, and then not do the same thing again.
Certainly not beat yourself up for the fact that you fell down. So, so good. And shout out to your accountability partner for doing their job, holding you accountable.
Mhm.
So I love that, man. And, there's a question that I oftentimes ask on calls like these and kind of taking a trip down memory lane. In fact, kind of like putting yourself in the position of, someone with some experience under your belt, learning some things about yourself, learning some tips and tools to get you out of a jam or recalibrate and develop a healthier relationship with yourself. Let's imagine for a moment you come into contact with somebody that is just in the beginning of that process, or maybe they haven't even begun. They've confided in you, sharing that they have this history of compulsive behaviors and not really sure what to do, just suffering in silence in the way that you and I know about really well. Knowing what you know now and having experienced what you've experienced so far, what might you share with that particular person?
I would tell them that there is no right time to deal with this behavior. For example, my most recent coming back to the program was not the most ideal time. I expect to have to, get back into the program, make the commitment that I expect. Like, that was not my yearly checklist, as it were. But I found that it was something that I'm like, okay, I have to deal with this. This is something that is like seriously bad, like any other behavior or addiction, alcohol, hard drugs, or anything like that. It's something that needs to be dealt with. Otherwise, it's going to wreck your life in some way, shape, or form. Or at the very least, limit it to something that you don't want, and the life you truly want and are meant to be living will never come to be. All that energy that sucks away could be devoted to a business, or it could be changing careers from, let's say, some lowly retail worker to a psychologist or a full-blown doctor with a practice, or any number of things that helps people as of service, something better than what you are now. Like, there are so many stories of people, myself included, that never thought they could do what they eventually end up doing. And so you need to understand that this isn't going to be a perfect uphill trajectory. It's going to be more like a wave of going up and down and gradually going up, kind of like how the stock market tracks. It's a bunch of zigzags going up and down, and typically generally trending up, but that's part of the journey.
That's so good. I love the way that you articulated that. It is something that's oftentimes said in the group. In fact, it's one of our core values: progress, not perfection. You know? So if you find yourself on maybe a downslope, which life is going to be difficult inevitably, it's just a matter of, do you have the tools and the community to lean on to get back toward where you want to go? And I love that you illustrated that, particularly with that stock market zigzag illustration. I think that's so, so true. And I suppose, with all that being said, to this particular person, would you then recommend this program?
I would recommend it if they're serious about it. I would say that have been a couple individuals, that, myself included at times, that don't take it seriously enough and waste time, waste the coach's time, your time, JK's. Like, understanding that this is something, it's like a job. You have to show up to work, and you can't just show up to work just to be there. You actually have to get better and work at it. It's not just something you show up and check out. It's something you have to be active about. I would describe it more like you have a full-time job, then you're going back to college full-time as well. So you're putting in 40 hours at work, 20 hours in class, 20 hours in studying. There you go, 80 hours. Full week, not much time for anything else outside of it, except maybe eating and sleeping. So that's how, I wouldn't say it's that grueling necessarily, but you should be willing to put in that much effort into the reboot.
That's so good. I mean, we say oftentimes the program works when you do. You can show up. And I love that you emphasize, like, if you're serious, we're a compassionate community and we're going to have your back, but we can't do the work for you. And I really appreciate the way that you share, honestly, in the Facebook group, because, when you do share, like, you show up. And I know that, it takes time to develop that new norm, like that new muscle memory. And regardless of any downslope, it's just a reminder, bro, that you do have, the community that's got your back, that's going to push you, but at least push you on the direction in which you want to go, So I'm happy that you're here, man. And in fact, we were literally just saying before we started recording, like, somebody, if this makes it to the, YouTube channel or podcast or whatever, it's probably because they know what that's like. And they've been in that set of shoes where they were in that struggling with silence kind of position, and maybe seeking help and seeking perspective, all that stuff.
Well, yeah, this issue is kind of a difficult one, because it has been until the last 2 years, as far as I can tell, that this has been somewhat acknowledged as a problem. But as far as like mainstream consciousness, like, you don't see on the news or anything online, or companies coming up, this is like the only company that I know that isn't complete BS or whatever. There are no other companies or places like this, as far as I can tell. It's a lot of other people shooting from the hip, whereas you guys are not. This is more of a serious, okay, this is a serious issue. We're going to treat this like an actual clinical addiction, as it were, even though there is not a official diagnosis for it. But it's clearly a problem. That is how I would describe the program.
I love it, man. And thank you for your insight. Thank you for your time. And just a reminder, bro, like, if you're ever feeling like maybe you're losing your way in any way or fashion, like, you've got that community to fall back into, to fall back, onto, and we're going to trampoline you back to get you to where you want to be, man. But I appreciate you for making the time and taking the time to share a bit about your experience, and onward and upward, bro. All the best to you.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.